Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Welcome if you are new. My name is Heather. I'm a homeschooling mom of 3 kids, elementary and high school age. Today is going to be my May goals video as well as how I did in April. So let's get into it. Okay guys, so April started off really good. The fact that I had that entire 13th week quarterly refresh at the beginning of the month was so incredibly helpful. It really flowed from my monthly reset day right into that 13th week. If you don't know what I'm talking about or you are new, welcome. I'm so happy to have you here. I do have a whole series on implementing a quarterly refresh / 13th week that kind of comes from the book, The 12-Week Year. I will leave it linked in the description box. I have a whole workshop over in my membership community if you're interested as well. And I did vlog every day during that 13th week, which was kind of fun. It was the first time that I had implemented this new system of a quarterly refresh and taking it over an entire week between the first quarter and the second season. So definitely recommend. I will be sharing more about that, I'm sure, in the coming months. But it was so good and I felt so ready for this super busy season. April and May are the 2 months that make up my spring season, and they are very busy. And even since I filmed my April goals video, I've added more appointments and other things going on. So it has been very busy. However, I have still been able to make a lot of progress, and that's what I'm going to share right now. So coming into April, I knew that I wasn't going to have a ton of time for a lot of different things. And so I definitely pared back what was on my tending list. So the first thing I'm going to do is go through my monthly action items. The first thing was for my adventuring goal, and that was to get our passports. And I did a really good job at the start. I made the appointment, I had gathered all of the paperwork and everything, and then when I was gathering my paperwork, I realized that I did not have the right birth certificate. I have, I think, what they call a short birth certificate, and they wanted something different. And so when I had the appointment scheduled and all of that stuff, I just couldn't fit in a new appointment, and I still have not called about my birth certificate. That is something that I need to do, but I'm unsure of when I can fit that in over the next 2 months, because it was kind of like, this is the one day that we have available for all of us to go to get the passports. My husband has to be there with us because of the kids. And so anyways, I started off so strong, and I did give myself half credit for this because I made the appointment, and if we had gone to the appointment, I would have gotten full credit, but alas, it did not happen. So I need to get that figured out, hopefully sooner rather than later, and that was kind of a bummer because I was hoping to just get that all done with so that we had them by the summer, but we don't have any travel plans out of the country at the moment, so I'm not all that concerned, but it was just kind of a pain. The next few things on my list were all relating to my homeschooling and passion-related goal. And the first was homeschool planning for 2025-2026. I have pretty much finished that. There are a few last-minute things that I need to do, but that is going to just continue. That's kind of how my brain works. I will do the bulk of the planning and figure out exactly what we need for curriculum. And then once I have the curriculum in hand, I will kind of go through it and really familiarize myself with the materials and figure out how I'm going to structure the year, all of that kind of stuff. I'm only planning for 2 this coming year, Jack and Lucy, and I think that I have a pretty good handle on everything. I'm still going back and forth a little bit with some of the resources for Jack's science, but overall I feel really good. And then the next thing on my list was purchase curriculum, and I have purchased the majority of the curriculum or gotten curriculum off of my shelves, which we will be using. There are a few things that I still need to get for Jack, mainly his Japanese program. There are a lot of resources that we're going to be using that are online resources, and so I don't necessarily have those in hand and won't have those in hand, and they're not something that I will get to until we're ready to start, because most of them are not subscription based, but you have a certain amount of time to use the resource. So I want to make sure that I'm not getting them now and not starting them until August. So I've gotten most of the stuff and I feel really good about it. The next thing on my list you will see is crossed off, and that is Emma's SAT. I had planned to register her for the SAT so she could take it this spring. There is a May date and a June date, and we are unavailable both of those days. And so it is possible that we could move what we were supposed to be doing on the June date, but I'm not sure that I want to. It's, it is what it is. But it kind of pushes us back, and I think that the next available date won't be until August. So I'm unsure. We'll just have to see how it goes. It's very hard to find a place to take the SAT in Maine that is close to us. We have to drive like 45 minutes to an hour. I don't know, maybe that's common for everybody, but it's so strange to me because I live in the same area where I grew up, and when I took the SAT, I took it like at the town over's high school. So anyways, there's that. The next thing on my monthly action items was my monthly reset day, and that is actually today. That's when I'm filming this video, and I'm giving myself full credit because I am doing that. I'm in the process of doing that today. And then the last thing on my monthly action items was relating to my creating a sanctuary at home, and that was to clean out my master bedroom closet, which I did, and I am so pleased about. I was able to go through all of my clothes and get rid of a bunch of stuff. There are still some things that I want to do. I think when I set up my April goals, I may have mentioned this, that I would like to kind of redo that closet. It has an old paint color and it's not as functional, but I probably also mentioned that when we lived in our previous house, we had no closet. So I'm not quite sure how to organize it in a way that works for us. So there are still some things that I need to do, but I was able to get through all of the stuff and get rid of anything that I really didn't need, and that was the main priority with this project. Then for the weekly rhythms, I only am focusing on 3 this month, and you will see this continue in May as well. Homeschool planning, and that is not my weekly lesson planning. That is just the general homeschool planning for next school year. I just want to spend a little bit of time each week on homeschool planning, which I have done. And the next 2 are part of my rhythms and systems goal, and that is practicing the Sabbath and weekly planning. And I have done a good job of that this month, even though we've been so busy and had a lot of things going on the weekends and stuff. I have been able to practice taking some time off. It's not always Sunday, and this will continue in May as well. But if I can just block off an afternoon where I'm resting off screens, just kind of decompressing, that's what I'm trying to achieve with this weekly rhythm. And then the last weekly rhythm is weekly planning, and I have been doing that. Some weeks I think there was one week that I didn't do a weekly overview, but I was still doing my daily plans for the week, and so I did give myself credit for that week. Then for my daily habits, these are all relating to my wellness goal, and the 4 of them are walk, read, my 1 line a day journal in my Erin Condren Life Planner, and health tracking. And I have been doing those pretty much every day. There was about 5 days that I did not go for a walk, and it was because I wasn't feeling great, and so that's fine. And there were a few days that I wasn't reading, and in fact, Friday I will have my reading update coming out, and spoiler, I have barely read any books in the month of April, and probably coming into the month, I should have known that I wouldn't be doing that. Even though I'm reading every day, I'm not reading a lot. I am reading maybe 5-10 minutes tops, and I am listening to some audiobooks, but even then, I just haven't had time to focus on listening to an audiobook so that I can actually get something out of it. So it's been a little chaotic. But overall, I feel pretty good about April, and I am excited for May. I think that it's going to be a pretty good month. There are some things that have kind of shifted around for us, and I've added more appointments since my April goals, which it's not ideal, but it is what is this season. This season is a very, very busy season of doctor's appointments and orthodontist appointments and dentist appointments and activities and weekend events. It's just, all of it is coming to a head, and I am just hoping for the most quiet, relaxing summer ever. We will see. So what I'm going to do is turn the camera around and we will set up May together. There's always some surprises, I feel like, but I'm excited to set it up with you, and I don't think I've done this in a couple of months. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to turn the camera around and we will set up May. Okay guys, so let's figure out what we are going to do for May. I actually feel pretty good about things, and part of the reason is because I actually did more than what I shared in the April update, because let's see, how many colors do I have? There we go, got all of my colors. Sorry guys. I did my master bedroom closet, which I already talked about, but I also was able to do the cubby for my bedroom. And so I don't need to do either of those things in May, which is great. The other thing that's on my declutter list is the basement. And I am unsure that I'm actually going to be able to make any progress on that in the month of May. And part of the reason is because we are still in the process of trying to fix the leak or fix the section of the house that had the leak. If you've not seen any of my videos about how our finished basement flooded back at the beginning of March, I will leave that linked in the description box for you. But I am unsure when that is going to be done. I'm crossing my fingers that it is May, but we are still super busy in May, and I think it's going to be later in the month. I have the first week in May where I don't typically plan out goal stuff during the month, but this first week is going to be our lightest week as far as appointments and other things outside of the house. So I think what I'm going to do, originally I had planned to use this week for finishing cleaning out the basement and then potentially painting. So I'm going to push that off and instead use this week for spring cleaning, I think. Now, spring cleaning was not on my quarterly action plans, but it was something in the back of my mind that I was hoping I would have time for. Now, if I was going to be doing the basement during that week, I wouldn't have time for the spring cleaning stuff, and I would have just pushed that out until June when we have all of the windows open and we're doing a lot of outside work and the kids are completely done with school. All of our busy season is essentially over. Since the basement, I'm just taking it off my list right now, knowing that I'm not going to have time. If for some reason everything really falls into place and I am able to work on the basement, I will, but I'm not going to put it on my list just from the aspect of knowing that when I think the work is going to be done is later in the month, and I will not have time later in the month to be working on that because we have so many other things going on. The basement is kind of one of those projects where I need a lot of dedicated hours. It can't just be like 5 minutes here and there or like 20 minutes in the morning. I mean, it could, but it's really not going, I really need huge chunks of time, and I just don't have that, except for that first week in May. So that was a lot of explanation. So I think what I'm going to do for the spring cleaning is work off of the home list, the spring cleaning list from Passionate Penny Pincher. If you have never heard me talk about this planner, then I'm assuming you are very new to my channel, and I want to say welcome. I'm so happy to have you here. This planner, this home management planner from Passionate Penny Pincher, has been so helpful for me in the past few years to come up with a home management system that works. I have told this story before, so I know it's a repeat for you longtime viewers, but we moved right before everything shut down in 2020, and then I was sick that summer, and it led into everybody being sick in the fall, and 2020 did not obviously turn out how anybody expected. 2021 was very similar in that I was honestly playing catch up from an entire year of just chaos, as I'm sure many of you were. And so I was never able to come up with a good system on how to plan to maintain my home. This was a new house, new environment, new outside projects, new interior space that I had to figure out what to do with, and I just never did. And by the time I kind of came out of that fog and craziness in 2022, I had already implemented habits and things that I knew were not great for our environment, and I wanted to shore them up. And I found this home planner from Passionate Penny Pincher, and it has been super, super helpful. They do not have any physical planners left for 2025, but they do offer a digital download that has all of these lists, and the lists are so good. Definitely recommend. I will leave it linked for you if you're interested. So what I'm planning to do is kind of just go through the spring cleaning checklist and touch on some of the areas, and probably not all of them. I don't think I will have enough time to get through all of them. It would be wonderful if I did. So what I'm going to do is go through, and I haven't done this yet, prioritize the list. And then I also want to make sure that I switch out all of our winter gear for spring and summer. I know I should have done that already, but we had snow in April. And when it snowed in April, I was like, you know what? I am just going to leave the winter stuff until the very last possible moment, because yeah, it was crazy. It is what it is. And you know what? Every year that happens, and every year it surprises me, because when I was younger, it didn't happen. I want to also focus on food storage and update my inventories, which isn't necessarily something on the spring cleaning checklist, but it is something that I do, making sure that I've used up everything that I preserved last year, and then kind of making a list as to what I know I need in the coming season. And it's just a good time to do that before the garden season, which I'm still unsure if I'm going to do a garden. My daily habits and weekly rhythms are things that I'm going to continue working on. I am not going to take any of these things off of my list, but I don't need to put them here. And then as far as homeschool planning goes, I am pretty much done with Jack and Lucy. I just need to buy a little bit more curriculum. I don't think I ordered Jack's Japanese book yet, but I have gotten some things, and those videos will be coming. But I know that I have a little bit more that I need to focus on. And I already talked about SAT registration for Emma. I do have a couple of weeks left that I can kind of figure that out if we're going to change when we wanted to celebrate her graduation. I know it sounds silly because she's graduating from high school, but she's not taken the SAT yet. It's because if she were in public school, she would be a junior this year. And so this gap year that she has fulfilled all of her credit requirements for college admissions. She is planning on focusing on her novel. She's unsure if she wants to go away to college in the fall of 2026, or if she wants to focus on something different. So we are unsure, but she is going to still take the SAT, but I just have a feeling it's going to be in the fall. And then if she and we're visiting colleges, obviously the college fair is on the list for May. And if she decides she wants to apply to colleges in the fall, which she probably will, we want to have the SAT scores for that. So homeschool planning, I'm not sure I really need to write anything down. And I guess I honestly didn't need to write this stuff down either. I will maybe just put follow the list. I don't know how I want to put this in my tending list. Okay, so my priority this month, I am actually going to say that my priority is homeschool planning. It is probably the most important thing. And the reason is because I do want to take a good chunk of the summer off and not have to think about it. And typically the way that I run my homeschool year, we usually start back to homeschool in July. I don't know if we're going to do that this year because Emma is done. And so we may wait until after Jack's birthday, which is in August this year, instead of starting early. I'm still in the process of structuring our homeschool year, which is kind of the last thing on my list. And so I'm unsure exactly what I want to do as far as a start date, but typically in June, I'm doing a lot of going through resources and planning out things for the new homeschool year and familiarizing myself with the resources. I still really like to do that, but I'm kind of hoping that I can do that in May. But like I said, May is also very busy with doctor's appointments and other activities and a lot of events going on. So we will see how it goes. All right, the first thing that I'm going to put is the Maine Home Education Alliance conference, which I am doing a couple of workshops for, and that is going to take up a full weekend. So as well as just prep time before that. So I just want to make sure that that is on my list so that I'm accounting for that time. I am going to put purchase curriculum because I have a little bit left that I need to get for homeschool planning. I am going to put homeschool bins because I want to get those cleaned out so that new resources can go in them. I want to familiarize myself with the resources, but I don't want to write that. I just want to do homeschool planning year. And essentially what that's going to mean is going through all of the resources and kind of recognizing when I want things done by, like different benchmarks throughout the year. That is always subject to change. The way that I do my planning, if you've seen any of my homeschool planning, you will know that I do like a big sweep for the year. I familiarize myself with all of the resources. I go through all of the instructor's guides. I read books that I'm unfamiliar with or do a lot of research on those books. And then I kind of structure my year and figure out how everything is going to flow. And then on a monthly basis, I will come in and adjust things. And then I do my homeschool lesson plans weekly. And that is going to be some weeks we get ahead, some weeks we fall behind, and I have to account for that the next week. So it gives me the most flexibility. I know that a lot of people probably don't like that, and it's a lot of time, but because I don't necessarily follow any sort of like lesson 1, lesson 2, lesson 3 for all of my curriculum, it just takes me a little bit longer. See, now I don't know if I want to put just spring cleaning as a monthly action item, or if I want to put spring cleaning and then a few other things underneath it. Maybe I will do it this way. I will put spring cleaning. I do need to prioritize the list, but I know that I definitely need to do the entryway, and that is because I'm switching out all of the clothes and toys and all of the things. I know that I want to do the pantries and food storage, which I did write down on that other list, but I think having it in 2 places is good for me. And then also the unfinished part of our basement. So that is not something that is on this prioritized list. And this is not something that I was planning on doing this season, but because I cleaned out the cubby space in my bedroom, I now have space for the memory bins that I was going to bring up from the unfinished part of the basement and kind of revamp that space downstairs. So I'm going to put that there as well. So those are my monthly projects. And then I think as far as the weekly rhythms go, I'm going to put homeschool planning. This happens to be on my list a lot throughout the year, homeschool planning, and it is really just a reminder for me to spend a little bit of time each week doing homeschool planning. Sometimes that's a little bit easier than just having a monthly project, because it reminds me that I don't have to plan everything in one sitting. And there may be one week that we are super busy. We have 5 birthdays within like a 4 or 5 day period in May. And so that tends to be a little bit busier week, and the weekends on either side are also busy. So writing it down is helpful. The next thing is going to be Sabbath rest. And that is going to be a little bit harder. And honestly, I think that I mentioned this both in my quarterly reset video as well as my April goals. I'm writing it down. There are weekends that we have plans on Sunday, and so I know that I won't be able to take that day to rest. But if I can find some other, not a full day, because there isn't another full day that I can actually use in May to rest, but just taking an afternoon, if there is a free afternoon, to just kind of sit and read and not focus on all of the other stuff that is going on, that is helpful. So hopefully we can continue to do that. And then weekly planning is the other rhythm that I want to make sure that I'm doing. And actually, I did forget to write down. Oh, this is going to be interesting. So I have my monthly reset day for May 29th. And I also am planning to do my 13th week quarterly reset the first week in June. Do I want to put that on my tending list, even though May will be over? I'm kind of unsure if I want to put it there or not. I might, just to remind myself. You don't know what I'm talking about. I did do a whole workshop in my membership community on this 13th week, which is a concept from the book The 12-Week Year about kind of resetting for a new quarter. And because I run my year a little bit differently, January through March, April and May, June through August, September through November are my seasons. My quarterly reset / refresh are a little bit are at different times during the year than a traditional 4-quarter year because I take December off. So I will put that here, and actually, oh gosh, I think that's what I will do, and just hope for the best. Then for my daily habits, they are all kind of relating to my health and wellness goal, and that's why I'm using this instead of my rhythms and systems color. They could go under either, but I am putting them under health and wellness for the time being. And those 4 things are the same that were on my April tending list, which are walk, read, 1 line per day, which is in my Erin Condren Life Planner, and then health tracking. So the other thing that I am considering for my monthly action items is getting my planner set up for the new year. I buy academic planners, so they start in July. Some of them actually start with May and June, or just June, or monthly calendars, so I can move into them early. Will I do that here? I'm kind of unsure. It might just be too busy of a month for me to do that here. But you know what? I will write it down just to have it written down. Planner setup. And actually, if I'm being honest, my teacher planner usually comes in May as well, and so that I might also want to set up. But you know what? I'm not going to have enough time to do all of the planner setup, but I will write it down just to remind me to make sure that I am taking some time, and in fact, I may end up doing it during this week. So having that here is probably okay. Now I will draw also a little thing here, not very straight, and I should use that ruler that I have, but I'm not going to put any encouraging words. Sometimes I put encouraging words, but more often than not, I just don't. It's not because I don't like encouraging words. In fact, I love encouraging words, but I just never think of what I want on the tending list for the month. So instead, I'm just going to put some stickers down. Okay guys, so here is my tending list for the month of May. I'm really excited. It does seem like there's a lot on here, but I do have to remember that a lot of this spring cleaning stuff is going to be done right at the start of the week. As far as homeschool planning goes, that is going to be a little bit each week and probably some extra time. So thank you guys so much for watching. I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. If you're looking for more help and encouragement around home and goals and homeschooling, I would love for you to come check out my membership community. That link is always in the description box. Again, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye guys.